What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Cilinix Crypto and welcome to this video about Optimism, the Optimism crypto project, in which we will talk about what is Optimism, a little bit about the project and also projects you can actually compare it to, but mainly the tokenomics. A lot can be found on the Optimism side about what it does and how it works, about optimistic roll-ups, because that is essentially what it is. But the tokenomics are a little bit more difficult to find out about, and therefore I thought it would be interesting to zoom in on that, because that's one of the most important things, I think, when you actually start to research a crypto to see whether you'd like to invest in it. So first of all, let's check it out on CoinMarketCap and let's talk a little bit about Optimism. Optimism and the OP token are a project and a governance token. The OP token is a governance token about the Optimism layer 2 blockchain. And what does that necessarily mean? Well, there are a lot of great videos to teach you exactly that, but what it basically means is that it is a blockchain that piggybacks off of a layer 1 blockchain, in this case Ethereum. So it uses the Ethereum security and scalability a little bit, but Optimism also increases that scalability. It uses that, and it's basically just it's a part of that. So it's an optimistic roll-up. So basically it combines it. You can get a lot of transactions within an optimistic roll-up, and that gets transferred to the Ethereum blockchain, which basically makes the Ethereum blockchain faster. And layer 2 blockchains will be some of the biggest projects, I think, within the crypto sphere. So Optimism can be compared with, I think, Polygon. Polygon is also a layer 2 blockchain, which is fairly successful already, as you all might know. And apart from that, but Polygon is a real blockchain in the layer 2. And apart from that, it could also be compared with Loopring, which is a ZK rollup, where Optimism is an optimistic rollup. So it can be compared to that. If you want to read more about it, you can also just go to Optimism, press developer docs, and optimism.io is the official site. Don't get tricked out there, and just how Optimism works if you want to get a little bit deeper into the technology. Now let's get on to the tokenomics, which I researched and I validated. So I have high trust in these numbers. So the total supply right now is 4.29 billion, which you can also see on CoinMarketCap. That is the total supply. There is no max supply, which is always a little bit troublesome. I think Optimism is legit, so I wouldn't worry too much about that. But the total supply is 4.29 billion, and this is a number I am not 100% sure about, but I think it's all right. There's a 2% inflation every year, so 2% gets added to the total tokens every year. Now, of the supply, we can quickly check this out. 20% goes to a retroactive public goods funding, so they can basically reward public goods that increase the awareness, but also the value around Optimism. 17% goes to the early investors, 19% to the core contributors. So these are real venture capitals and stuff, and these are the core contributors, are the people that worked on Optimism the most from the beginning. Apart from that, you also have the airdrops, where the first airdrop was only 5% of the 19% of the total supply, and 14% will still be distributed during further airdrops. So there will be more airdrops for Optimism. And then you have the ecosystem fund, something I think is together with the retroactive public goods funding. I think these are the two most important ones. Where 5.4 goes to the governance fund, 5.4 to the partner fund, 5.4 to the seed fund, and 8.8 is still unallocated. So what that does mean, and that's quite important, and down here you can read what it all is, but it's basically all of these things. It's just meant to stimulate the development in the ecosystem, right? So for example, if some developers want to build on Optimism, they can get some sort of a reward and Optimism for building on there, and basically increasing the value of the whole ecosystem, which I think is a great thing. But something important to know about this is the inflation is 2%, but a lot of these tokens are still in the wallets of Optimism right? So when you look at inflation, the thing that it does is it increases the supply while the demand doesn't necessarily grow, right? And that also is the case right here. So even though the inflation is relatively low, you should be cautious with more tokens being brought into circulation in the community, right? Because if they have it in their wallet, if Optimism has it in their wallet, that doesn't necessarily mean that the supply goes up because they are not selling it. But once they actually distribute it to, for example, developers, but also other partners such as investors and core contributors after their lockup period, that also increases the supply and therefore drives the price down if the demand doesn't go up. So with that, I also wanted to take a look at when everything gets unlocked. You can see that right here, and you can see that the core contributors and the early investors actually get their OP tokens a little bit later, which is a great thing, but also again something to look out for, because that also means that once they actually get their tokens, that might increase the supply and the selling pressure, while the buying pressure doesn't necessarily have to grow at that point in time, and that could cause the price to drop down. Community, the airdrops and the community fund, that all goes very linearly, and the airdrops, I mean, you can see that coming. When a new airdrop is being distributed, that also increases the supply, and the demand usually goes up for airdrops as well a little bit, but it's never one-to-one, right? So you should always be very careful with that. Now, I don't want to spread any FUD or fear about optimism. I actually think, as I said, layer 2 solutions are the future of crypto, and they definitely have a lot of potential. I just think you should watch out with the inflation in the price, and that still a lot of tokens have to be distributed and have to be added to the real circulating supply. So in that part of the supply where it actually can get sold. So I just want you to be cautious for that, but I do think Optimism has a bright future. I just think it might be a little bit too early to invest in it for now. So that was my quick review on Optimism for now, and the OP token and the tokenomics. If you do have any questions or have any points about this video, if you want to discuss anything, please let me know down in the comments. For now though, thank you all for watching and listening, and I hope to see you all in my next videos. Bye.